PLUR, Kandi, and EDM. Boy, does that sound like a load of vaguely recognizable word salad. What do any of these vaguely recognizable words mean? Well, going into this, I was only kind of aware of the first two, but upon conducting my research for this side of the music scene, I was pleasantly surprised to find that rave culture has a lot of fascinating practices. Practices I would even go as far as to call traditions. To me, this instantly piqued my interest, because where there are traditions, there is culture. A tiny look into a much deeper phenomenon cultivated by people and their love for a shared thing, whether that's music, identity, or even just each other. So let's start simple and deconstruct some of the core elements of rave religion. When you think of raves, you probably jump to unleveled bass drops and unnecessary backspins, brought to you by your local oversaturated entertainment corporation or illegal warehouse. A weekend-long excuse to get trashed for no good reason other than to escape the bleak reality of your mundane existence. But don't get me wrong, I dig self-destructive escapism as much as the next guy, but I do believe there's more to it than that. What am I on about? Well, raves are large-scale social events, centered entirely around music. Whether it's at a nightclub, venue, or festival, these are events that join together like-minded people for the sake of celebration. It's the perfect environment for the beginnings of countercultural movements, new ideas, and traditions to take shape within a community. Pretty early on, they were established as safe spaces for the queer community, taking place in secretive places and gay clubs upon invite only. At this point, they were merely just underground parties, originating mostly from England, Belgium, and Germany, to absolutely no one's surprise. Once Chicago gave us house music by the end of the decade, the practice of conducting these secret parties quickly caught on in the US. Right, so raves. We got that much. I'll explain my thoughts further using more of what I know. EDM, because that's easy, stands for electronic dance music. Probably the most broadly used term in all of music history. Literally anything could be EDM by that definition. Do you plug it in? Yes. Does it slap? Yes. EDM. And I really don't think I have to bring up Kraftwerk again. However, for the purposes of this video, we'll be looking at the popular EDM of the 90s and 2000s. Mostly things like trance, techno, and house come to mind, but we all know these terms merely scratch the surface of what EDM and raves can constitute as. So what are the qualifications I am looking for here? Well, I'm counting any kind of music of this era that was made with the intention of being played in live performance settings for people to dance to. You'll notice that I am continuing to define this in vague and slightly pretentious terms. This is because I find rave culture to be far less specific to a sound and more focused on the shared experience of the rave itself. These patterns occur across all sounds, so to speak. The subjects of my last two videos that cover musical innovation can be defined as EDM and most likely share some of these countercultural practices, and they couldn't be further apart from each other, not just in sound but in aesthetic and subject matter. You'll start to notice that EDM and rave culture really took off in the western coast of the US after making its way over from Central Europe. So naturally, it was time for the new age hippies and ravers of 90s SoCal to put their good old American twist on the once somewhat respected music genre. And what does America do best? Bigger, better, more. Raves and nightclubs became festivals, the productions got bigger, flashier, and became a safe haven for self-expression beyond judgment. Which leads us to the next key factor of early 2000s American rave culture, Kandi with a K. Stay with me. So, naturally, raves are a chance to get as creative and expressive with your appearance as possible. Clothing is merely a suggestion, if anything, as it is just as much about feeling comfortable in and celebrating your body as it is about expressing your style without the fear of being judged. That means lots of skin, but it also means loud colors and striking patterns. Glitter, rainbows, and any over-the-top accessory you can think of. Honestly, it's almost redundant to go into the specifics of rave fashion because it ends up becoming more specialized within its subgenre, but as a whole, it's simply just that there are no limits. No dress code. Anything goes. However, Kandi has cemented itself as a unique tradition within this broader concept. Kandi refers to the colorful, handmade jewelry made from those chunky plastic pony beads, strung or stitched together using simple elastic cord. Kandi is a symbol of many things in rave culture. The best way to understand its role now is to think of them as friendship bracelets. And I'm not kidding. The idea is to make your own bracelets to trade with others at raves. It's meant to be a way to find new friends and show appreciation for someone you may never see again. For example, if you share a moment with a stranger, Like, they compliment your hair, you dance with them, you like their outfit. You can express your appreciation and your warm fuzzies by offering a small piece of you for them to remember the encounter by. It's all very cute and heartwarming. I always think about moments like this that I share with strangers who are all experiencing the same event with me, and I find this to be a great way to express that feeling in such a creative and thoughtful way. It's customary to wear the bracelets you intend to trade on your right arm, while the left is reserved for those you wish to display. There are essentially 3 different types of Kandi. The first are these simple single-string bracelets. They're the quickest and easiest to make. Many people personalize them with sayings or specific colors and charms. The second are cuffs. These mean more to give out and receive because they take much longer to make and are more complex. Lastly, there's PLUR beads. You know, those iron-activated beads that create a distinct pixel art look. These are used to embellish Kandi bracelets and necklaces. Very Y2K. I remember this being big within the scene look at the time, which makes sense to me now as scene music is much more electronic and high energy than emo music, so the overlap checks out. How Kandi came about is rather uncertain, but I found a lot of speculation about it originally being an indicator to fellow ravers that you have substances available to purchase. The idea is that your hands would be up in the air all day, and the bright, eye-catching accessory functioned as a sort of subtle open sign. But this is highly contested, as its current and more positive connotation is far more significant and recognizable. I'll keep this next bit brief due to the unfortunate platform we are restricted to. Not that I make any money off of these videos anyway. But it would be silly to just not acknowledge this part of the culture. Party drug usage is very closely associated with raves and EDM, and led to a moral outcry by the public and a permanent negative connotation. The whole point of taking party drugs is to suppress certain bodily functions and enhance others, which of course can sometimes lead to fatality. Many deaths have occurred because of this, plenty of which unfortunately happening during festivals, leading to the blame being placed on promoters, organizers, and even the DJs themselves. Since this is a time where raves were becoming more commercialized, that meant bad press. So, to keep the green flowing, organizers felt pressure to take action. So obviously, they had to do the only thing that could save the children, and ban the evil beaded bracelets. Yeah, as silly as it sounds, Kandi started getting banned from festivals for this potential negative connotation, somewhat famously by producer Diplo while on tour. This was met with heavy backlash and even confusion from those who may be unaware of or actively removed from drug culture, which gives me the perfect opportunity to talk about an even deeper subculture. Kandi kids are people who embrace the colorful, childlike look to advocate for more inclusive and safe live music and festival environments. In my notes, I called this straight edge for happy people. I think this is a perfect case of utilizing a previously negative symbol to promote against its original association. Now, of course, we can't really have Kandi without PLUR. PLUR can be likened to that of a philosophy. It stands for peace, love, unity, and respect. The acronym is commonly attributed to New York techno DJ Frankie, who is also credited with being among the first party promoters in the US, helping to spread the practice of raves in the West. The saying's use can be traced back to the early 90s. In response to a fight that broke out during one of his sets, he exclaimed,
"Motherfuckers, you gotta show some peace, love, and unity. None of this stuff. What is this? Come fight me, you know, like that." And it's like, if you don't start showing some peace, love, unity, respect. I didn't say respect, okay? I'm not gonna say it because that means I would really give a fuck. However, I said, if you don't start showing some peace, love, and unity, I'm gonna break your fucking faces, because come fight me, like, let's get this done. And then I got off and I played Spastic by Plastic Band, which was one of Richie's songs.
Well said, Mr. Bones. As he is a huge figure in rave history, his influence really struck a chord with people, and the saying caught on in a massive way. It draws ideals from the earlier hippie movement of the US and from sentiments of the early hip-hop movement, with the later addition of the R, perhaps an homage to the activism and musical influence of the likes of Aretha Franklin, as the respect mantra became a symbol of hope and empowerment within the Black community. And, as we already established, rave culture has sturdy roots in positive activism and acceptance. Regardless, the PLUR motto became a sort of universally understood code of ethics and a way of life. The best part is there's even a secret handshake. The PLUR handshake is performed during a Kandi trade. It goes as follows. With your right hand, initiate a peace sign, touch your hand to your heart, then the other person's palm, perform a handshake, then commence a Kandi trade. As someone with a professional academic background in terrible emo music, I knew very little about this kind of tradition. I'd seen those summer camp-esque bracelets and associated them with the actually cringy scene kids who are not at all like emo kids and completely inferior.
I so need to check my MySpace.
But I never knew about their significance and what they actually stood for. I didn't know about the sheer compassion displayed by ravers, by fellow music lovers, and the lengths they go to express, well, peace, love, unity, and respect. When I was a teenager, I met someone at a basement-sized emo gig. After dancing with them, we exchanged numbers and actually kept in touch and became friends. They even mailed me a whole collection of Kandi bracelets that they had made specifically for me. At the time, I had no idea there was any significance or history behind it whatsoever, but I was so touched by this. I actually still have them. So now it's really cool to look back at a happy little memory like that and know that what I had experienced was so universal that an entire community of people created this ritual to perform, to celebrate these brief moments of humanity, cherished by two strangers. Even if the most widely recognizable EDM isn't at all what aligns with what I look for in music, you can probably tell that I see so much value in this subculture and the music that brings all of this out in people. What I do here is use music to understand the human condition, and this unexpectedly is one of the greatest examples of new cultural traditions that are forming around us in response to universal experiences, just as humanity has done for billions of years before us. There's something incredibly grounding and somewhat comforting about it all. So, thanks, Skrillex, I guess. Thank you for taking a closer look at rave culture with me. This was such a delight to dive into, as somewhat of an outsider to this side of the global music scene. So if you, watching this, just so happen to trade Kandi, tell me about your first experience or how you got into it, because I think all the stories are really lovely and they make me smile. Anyway, my name is Circuscision. I'll see you all very soon.